Hello everyone, my name is UltimoFive, and today we're going over the Tigris Prime, the double-barreled shredder. Tigris Prime is a prime version of Tigris and was released alongside Galatine Prime and Necros Prime. In order to obtain Tigris Prime, one must open a variety of relics that contain the blueprint, barrel, stock, and receiver in order to make it at the foundry. Requires a mastery rank of 13, comes with 2 V polarity slots plus a D auxilis slot, and because of this, the builds on this weapon will require 4 Forma. Excels in close to medium range combat and deals with high leveled enemies of all factions and small crowds, but mainly against single targets. And it has a unique trigger type that allows for 2 rapid shots. The first shot is upon button press, while the second shot is upon button release. The Tigris Prime has some adjustments when compared to the original Tigris in different areas. These stats would be higher base damage, more pellets per shot but less damage per pellet, lower status chance, and a smaller max damage reduction due to fall off. Advantages for the weapon would be that it has a very high base damage, very high overall status chance, an innate multi-shot of 8 pellets, and efficient ammo economy. Disadvantages, however, for the weapon would be that it has a low critical chance, low impact and puncture damage, frequent reloading due to its low magazine size, and has linear damage fall off. The elements for the Tigris Prime against the Corpus will be Viral and Radiation. Viral amplifies health damage by 100% for 6 seconds and stacks up to 10 times for a total of 325%. Meanwhile, Radiation causes enemies to attack each other while dealing 100% additional damage to the allied for 12 seconds. The build's flex slot is Vicious Spread and easily slaughters the Corpus. Viral helps amplify radiation damage, which helps against armored enemies on the Corpus side, and this includes enemies inside the Index and Bursa class enemies. Other than this, it just straight up destroys other Corpus enemies. The elements for the Tigris Prime against the Corrupt and Grineer will be Viral and Slash. Slash's status effect is Bleed, and after 1 second it deals 35% of the base damage per second for 6 seconds, which bypasses armor. The build's flex slot is Primed Ravage and works great. Hunter Munitions mixed with the slightly increased critical chance ends up making the shotgun a 2-shot bleed killer against the Grineer and Corrupted with or without Primed Ravage, which is why it is the flex slot. The same results can be seen without Hunter Munitions, however it does end up taking Slash procs longer to kill. The elements for the Tigris Prime against the Infested will be Corrosive and Heat. Corrosive reduces armor by 26% for 8 seconds and stacks up to 10 times for a total of 80%. Meanwhile, Heat deals 50% base damage per second over 6 seconds while stripping up to 50% armor and causes targets to panic. The build's flex slot is Vicious Spread and works out great. Even though Corrosive doesn't do anything too much when its status procs, it still ends up nuking high-tiered Infested enemies in 1 to 2 shots due to the massive 75% increased damage. Meanwhile, the Heat procs can help cause some CC against incoming waves of enemies. Also, Viral Heat works here as well, except it needs a viral proc, otherwise it won't 1 to 2 shot, so I highly recommend Corrosive Heat instead. Fatal Acceleration, in place of having no Auxilis mod. This will cost 2 more Forma in order to have, but helps with projectile speed by increasing damage fall off range. Point Blank, Ravage, Charge Shell, and Cleanse mods, in place of their primed counterparts if you don't have them. Chilling Reload, in place of Frigid Blast if you want a faster reload speed at the cost of increased status chance. Seeking Fury, in place of the build's flex slot in order to help deal with larger crowds via punch through and a small bit of reload speed. And Seeking Force, in place of the build's flex slot in order to help deal with larger crowds via more punch through than Seeking Fury. There are several ways to enhance critical stats and damage for this weapon. For instance, for damage, Rhino's Roar, Nova's Molecular Prime, which makes all sources of damage increase by 100% against primed enemies, Mirage's Eclipse mixed with her Hall of Mirrors adds a massive damage bonus during the day or in light, Saren's Toxic Lash mixed with her Spores abilities, Equinox's Rest and Rage in day form makes targets more vulnerable to damage, and Banshee's Sonar, which gives a huge damage multiplier. For critical stats, Harrow's Covenant can add up to 50% critical chance and 200% on headshots. Volt's Electric Shield when shot through adds a 200% critical damage multiplier. Zephyr's passive increases critical chance by 150% while airborne. The Adarza Kavat with Cat's Eye can give a 60% critical chance boost, and Smita Kavat with Charm can give a 200% crit chance. Arcane Rage, upon getting a headshot, 15% chance for 180% damage to primary weapons for 24 seconds. Arcane Primary Charger, on melee kill, 30% chance for 300% damage to primary weapons for 12 seconds. Arcane Avenger, upon being damaged, 21% chance for 45% critical chance for 12 seconds. And Arcane Arachne, on wall latch, 150% damage for 30 seconds. When you get your hands on a Riven for this weapon, the flex slot to replace will be Vicious Spread for the Corpus and Infested builds. Meanwhile, for the Corrupted and Grineer, the flex slot to replace will be Primed Ravage or Hell's Chamber. This can require one more Forma, and in order to maximize damage output with Tigris Prime, one will need to get lucky and get some nice stats. These ideal stats would be damage, multi-shot, critical damage, and negative weapon recoil, negative puncture, or negative fire rate. The reason for negative fire rate is because it only delays automatic reload speed. However, it can be bypassed by simply pressing the reload button. The next best Riven stats would be damage, critical chance, critical damage, and negative weapon recoil, negative puncture, or negative fire rate. The reason for negative fire rate is the same as before. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more guides on Warframe, please click the like and sub buttons to let me know. And as per usual, I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.